Nothing compares to a competition where the crowd adds so much energy and there is something on the line. Adrenaline simply hits different, and you can enter a flow state where you're not thinking about climbing, you're just climbing. The mental prep and physical tapering you go through also makes a huge difference. The bigger the competition, the more focused you are, and the more physically and mentally prepared you will be. For me, the biggest competition of my life so far will be the Paris 2024 Olympics, with my competition starting on the 5th of August at the new Le Bourget climbing venue. Physically and mentally, I will be ready to give it my all. Comp simulations are an important part of preparations, where you get to refine your processes and where the results don't mean anything. GB Climbing ran an international competition simulation at Parthian Climbing in Wandsworth in London. Thanks to a huge effort from those involved, and a big shout out especially to Liam Bridden, who worked countless hours to be able to get this simulation up and running. There were 4 things that made this comp simulation special. Number 1, the Titan wall. Number 2, the climbing holds. Number 3, the route setters. And number 4, the athletes that attended. In line with IFSC regulations, when using official IFSC setters, every single IFSC nation was invited to attend. And on the men's side, Tokyo Olympic Gold Medalist Alberto Gines Lopez joined, as did Tokyo Olympic Bronze Medalist Jakob Schubert, amongst many others. In this video, I talk through every boulder and show you my exact scoring throughout based on the Olympic combined scoring format, where each boulder has 2 zones and a top. You score 5 points for the first zone, 10 points for the second zone, and 25 points for a top. You lose 0.1 points for each failed attempt off of the score achieved. If that's confusing, it will hopefully become clear through the video. With a makeshift cool zone, and very soon, I was heading out to semi-final boulder 1. The first boulder was up on the steep part of the Titan bouldering wall. This was a powerful problem using some green and pink dishes. Jakob worked his way to the last move before running out of time. Alberto started the round with an impressive flash to scare the route setting team. As soon as I looked at the boulder, I knew it was a powerful problem and not too complex. I came up with the obvious sequence and pulled on. I didn't manage the first zone on my first attempt, getting a bit confused with the toe hook beater. The left-hand catch was hard and required a lot of tension, but I did manage to stick it on my second attempt. This meant my score was currently 4.9 points, as I lost 0.1 points for the failed attempt. I couldn't quite stick the move up to the black lucha libre pinch over the lip on my second go, but I did stick it on my third go and cut loose to secure the second zone. This meant my score now bumped from 4.9 up to 9.8, as I had 2 failed attempts to get to the second zone, losing 0.1 points for each failed attempt. Similar to Jakob, I couldn't quite unlock the move to the final hold, which was again very impressive from Alberto to flash. Boulder 2 was a physical problem over some poor purple holds that were annoyingly the wrong way up. Various methods were tried, and this was a problem where beta and number of attempts were going to be significant. With problems like this, you really don't get many tries, as 5 minutes is simply not enough time to recover with the amount of tension required to hold these positions. I was happy with how I read this boulder that involved a shouldery iron cross type move to a poor crimp and crossing through to an undercut for 5 points. A close high foot in a small space, a definite test of hip mobility, and wrapping the right hand unlocked the move out left to the sloper for 10 points. Finding the right position and going again with the left hand to catch the terrible crimp was a welcome flash, and with no failed attempts on this boulder meant a full score of 25 points. The top crimp on the purple was probably just shy of about 20 mil, and when you're arriving at speed, having just done the rest of the boulder, It's definitely a much harder catch than if it were just in isolation. Boulder 3 on the Titan wall is almost exclusively a movement-based boulder, and this was no exception. The angle of the wall here lends itself to either a lâcher or some sort of dynamic movement, normally something crazy. As normal with dynamic style moves, there are a lot of solutions on offer moving through the boulder. What works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. The top move remained elusive for all, which was just incredibly hard. The 5-point move was a surprisingly tricky lower to a bad crimp. This required a little timing and a lot of core tension. It was harder than it looked and a good way for the setters to steal some points if the move was underestimated by anyone. The next move is a movement style I've really worked, and I was happy to see some progress here with the flash to 10 points on this boulder. Now for the elusive top move. Off the top of a dual text volume, which was just awful to stand on, very scary. It was not easy and certainly didn't feel like a stable position to generate from. I later heard the move described as bloody terrifying. I tried a high foot and various dynamic ways to finish over several attempts within the 5 minutes. The Rock City holds at the top were terrible, whereas from the ground they actually looked quite good, so with them being terrible when you arrived there, yeah, it was just a really sketchy last move. The final left-hand hold almost had nothing on it. I was happy with 10 points from the boulder with a flash to the second zone. Boulder 4 was a slab at the end of the Titan wall and every move was challenging. Come out from the wall, lose your balance, weight your feet badly, or move too quickly, and you were off. Jakob and Max both topped. I flashed the 5-point zone and then spent a short eternity trying to remember where the black foothold on the black volume was, which was easy to see from the ground, but almost impossible when standing above it. There are lots of times when swapping the weight from one foot to the other is a crux on a slab. This was a very good example. The stand-up move to a thumb catch required timing and body position. I managed it on my third attempt with the clock counting down. The move to the final hold seemed to go okay for a total score of 24.8 on the fourth boulder. In total, I scored 69.6 points, which I was pretty happy with, knowing there was still a lot of room for improvement. Collaborative working sessions with psyched people are undoubtedly some of my favourite ever sessions. I thought initially after the round that I wasn't warmed up and the last move in boulder 1 wouldn't be too bad when reworking it. It turns out everyone thought it was hard and it was a really impressive flash from Alberto. This one physical boulder with an electric last move, as the setters like to call it, was a great job from the setting team. Come on. Oh! Smear on in the ditch. This is the one.
It's a really good flash from my back.
It's a very good flash.
I mean, now I think for me it's really simple.
Diane was the only one to top boulder 2 in the working session, and I'm really excited to compete alongside him in the future comps, where I'll be doing so in Innsbruck Boulder World Cup in the near future. After another warm-up, day 2 started with finals observations. Although warm-up hadn't necessarily gone to plan, I managed to stub my fingernail on day 1, and it now needed super gluing back on to prevent it from coming off, which is normally a problem I have to deal with, which a small bit of super glue usually fixes it quite well. I'm not quite sure what happened when doing this normal procedure, but the super glue exploded and I managed to get it all over my hands, which was not a great start to the round. I was frantically trying to scrape it off in the bathroom just before. Sometimes things just don't go to plan. Finals boulder 1 was another incredibly physical boulder, and there was a combination of first and second zone secured between everyone. I managed to flash the first zone for 5 points, but then couldn't find the toe hook at the back of the crack that enabled the move up to the the blue Rock City dish. I was pretty frustrated with how the day was starting. Boulder 2 had a tricky first move to the 5-point zone. The choice of foot sequence here was key to unlocking the move. The second move was a difficult jump to a wide pinch that required strength, body tension, and efficient movement. I secured the first zone on my 5th go for 4.6 points. I needed 3 attempts to unlock the second zone on my 7th attempt overall, which bumped my score to 9.4 for the boulder. I made progress on the last move. Well, I think I did. After the superglue troubles in warm-up and a frustrating first boulder, I didn't feel like I was having the best day. I wasn't kicking my liquid chalk there, I was just gently moving it to where I wanted it to be. Boulder 3 was a very hard slab. With a very tricky hand swap to the first zone, the move around the volume with poor feet to the second zone was also very tricky. With the move to the top even harder, this was a very low percentage slab, getting progressively harder throughout each move. I managed to move around the large blue volume using the crimp to the poor slope of 4.8 points on my third go. Safe to say, every point was very hard earned in this round. This was a hard move for the first zone. I upgraded to 9.8 points with the move up to the second zone. I wasn't smiling about it either. Boulder 4 was without a doubt the dynamic boulder of the round. On the flat hold no text macros that made their first appearance at the World Championships in Bern last year. These holds have very weird tactics, and chalk doesn't seem to help. You need slightly damp skin, either water or liquid chalk that hasn't quite dried yet. The no-text holds are like slippery jugs, and you have to engage everything just to hang on to them. It's a really bizarre feeling. It's like you know you can hold the hold, but there's just no friction there, so you have to use your whole body to hold on to it. They lend themselves to dynamic moves because you don't want to hold them and you have to move through them quickly. It was likely anyone with experience on these holds would have a better time, and it was a great effort from the route setters creating a boulder that couldn't be broken without the intended lâcher beater. Several people found their way to the top using various beaters after the second zone. I managed to flash to score 25 points. Looking back, I was pretty happy with this round. Sometimes it can be hard to pull a round back if things don't start very well, but I managed to score 5, 9.4, 9.8 and 25 points, improving my score on every single boulder. Overall, I scored 49.2 points in what would have been an incredibly hard boulder round in a competition. Another great working session saw everyone working the moves. And I was happy to top the slab, which had a really difficult last move to a blocked crimp off a poor volume. I would have been very happy to get this within 5 minutes. It took a lot longer working it. I'm not quite sure what was happening on boulder 2, but I went with it and managed to get 2 hands on the finishing hold, albeit in the opposite positions to where they should have been. And I'm pretty happy that my shoulders are still intact afterwards. With fading skin and energy, the rest of the session was mostly spent collaborating and working individual moves. Temperatures had risen throughout the day and every hold was feeling worse and every move unlocked was hard earned by everyone. As with every post-comp session, spirits were very high, but skin was very low. This was an amazing comp simulation on some great boulders. I'm definitely looking forward to the Innsbruck Boulder World Cup in a few weeks. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like, leave a comment, and it would be amazing if you subscribe to my channel for more of this content. See you in the next one.